This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's Tuesday, October 11, 2022, and it is 6 p.m. Our first order of business is call to order by roll call. So Linda Escobedo.
Present.
Mike Lawson.
Present.
Rich Feely.
Present.
Carrie LaFleur.
Here.
And Keith Bergman present. All right, so all five members are present. We also have with us Concord Housing Development Corporation Chair Lee Smith, our Regional Housing Services Office Director Liz Rust, and both of whom have meetings at 6:30. So we will discuss matters that that we want to raise with them in this beginning part of the meeting. So let's and welcome back to we have Ray Andrews on the call from FinCom. All right, next item is approval of minutes, and I had sent out a draft set of our October 4th meeting. I think I found a typo in it. I don't even remember what it was, but I have added a reference of the documents to attach to that set of minutes, the letter we sent to the select board with a record of our vote, just so that that's out there too and included. Any amendments or edits to the minutes?
I thought you did a great job capturing the meeting.
Oh, thanks, Linda. Yeah, some of the meetings are tough. I still haven't. I still owe you a set of minutes from a meeting that was still even more tough than the last meeting. So I'll work on that. But thank you. So is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Mike. Second.
Second.
Second by Rich. And let's do a roll call vote on that motion. Linda.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Carrie.
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So that is approved 5-0. Thank you. Next item is Christopher Heights Junction Village. And just to mention our agenda, and I don't know how much of it we'll get to, but Christopher Heights we have on Assabet River Bluff. If there is any update, we can certainly reschedule that for later. We do want to try to get a motion on home rule petitions for the sources of funding for the trust, so we can get that to the select board. Update on housing production plan, which we'll have more information about after next week's steering committee meeting. So for starters, let's talk about Christopher Heights Junction Village, and I guess I'll turn it to Lee for any update that he wants to share with us. Thanks for being here and for all you're doing.
Thank you. So I think the only substantive update is that I received a letter from Walter Ohanian on behalf of the Grantham Group, just formalizing their position that they do not intend to move forward with the project I'll just summarize in my own words, due to perceived lack of community support, as well as economic conditions affecting the region and the country in general. I guess we'll see how this meeting goes, but I assume that the intention is still to move forward seeking support, maybe in addition to the request for the $1 million from the trust just to affordable housing generally, but I'll let your board speak to that. Keith, I know that you had reached out to Walter asking if he would be willing to have a conversation, maybe be willing to change his mind if the meeting on Monday went well. And I haven't seen any dates for that, but I assume we try to do that this week, which I'm happy to participate in.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, and I had shared the letter that Walter wrote to Lee that I was copied on it from Lee and shared it with the members here. And I just from feedback I've been hearing, it seems to have gotten wide circulation in certain circles in town. It was kind of ironic because it was only a few hours after I had sent a follow-up email letter to the select board, just officially notifying them of what the trust had voted to do on October 10th. And my first step was to frankly do an exhaustive set of minutes, so I was extremely clear on what we had done on October 4th. And then I followed it up with a letter, which was copied to all of you, notifying the select board of our vote, which was, as you'll recall, to actually approve $1 million from the trust fund for the upcoming DHCD high readiness ARPA funding round, specifically, and that we also specifically requested that the select board vote to send a letter of support to DHCD for reapplication for that state funding. In preparing the letter, I'll share that in trying to explain to the select board, just reiterate what the community support for this project has been over time. I reached back to a document that's been there for us to review, and that we have reviewed it, and it's the housing production plan that was approved by the select board and the planning board and DHCD, and it was approved in 2016. And right there in that report is a project called Create Affordable Assisted Living Units at Junction Village, and it was 83 units on a 12-acre site. That hasn't changed. That was what the select board, the planning board, DHCD, and dare I say, at least a couple of votes of town meeting. I've heard someone say that there have been disapprovals by town meeting. I'm not aware of those. I think anytime the matter's gone to town meeting, the voters have approved it. And in fact, the planning board, which had approved the plan back in the housing production plan in 2016, took the time on September 27th to approve the project yet again. So the context is all we need is of the original supporters is for the select board to join us in supporting this, and all they need to do is send a letter of support. They don't even need to take a vote on the money because we've done that. So it was disappointing to then see Walter's letter, to see it in writing a few hours later. As we've discussed at our last meeting, boy, we can all understand why that, from the meeting on September 19th, that was not a good meeting to hear about the, it's a complicated, in any complicated project that takes years to bring to fruition. It's a part, the developer and the town and its supporters, you're entering into a partnership, and it's long-term, and you need to reassure each other constantly that you're all on the same page. And it was unfortunate that didn't happen on September 19th. I know we would love to have it happen on October 17th, and that's sort of where our attention has been. But I guess I'd want to open it up for some discussion from our. Oh yeah, Lee.
Sorry, just a quick question, probably for Carrie. Will Walter's letter be included in the public information packet, included in the agenda?
Well, I guess I would assume so because it was asked to be distributed to the select board. Is there a concern about it being included?
I'll just speak for myself. I think it's important to be included for those who did not either attend or watch the meeting subsequently. I again, just speaking for myself, I think it pretty well captures the tone of that meeting and the disappointment, if not disheartenment, or however you want to characterize it, of the developer. So I think it's important for the citizens of Concord to see it.
Yeah. And I did see the select board's agenda for the 17th has already been posted, and it has a specific agenda item. The first agenda item of business at 6:45 is town council's opinion letter. So I hope that regarding Christopher Heights. The next one is a discussion generally of Christopher Heights. Then there's an update from the Regional Housing Services Office on Affordable Housing. So lots of things for us to be there for in any event. And on October 17th. So I think we ought to, at a minimum, if anyone's in any doubt, I think we ought to continue our travel plans to the select board meeting on for this coming Monday night. Mike.
My concern is with the letter from Walter saying that he no longer is going to do the project. Why wouldn't the select board just take that at face value and move on?
My impression is that's what they're doing. Most of them that I've spoken to individually, that I think it's going to be hard where many of them, if not all of them, were not particularly supportive of the project, that this just gives a reason to support the decision that they made at the last meeting.
What is the decision to not make a decision or to sue the developer? I mean, those were the sorts
Well,
of.
they didn't make a decision to sue the developer. I think that's
But
Yeah.
with that letter though, there's no reason for the select board to act on our request.
Well, there was, yeah, I don't think we can predict what they'll do. I don't think we would have predicted that they would take no action on the requests that we made on numerous occasions at prior meetings. But I think the broader issue is to try to figure out a way for us to have a dialogue, and maybe it's the update that Liz is going to have on affordable housing in general and I don't know if that's going to include an update on the housing production plan or what else, but I think that broader issue is a very important discussion to have. There's any comments from board members?
Well, I'm
Liz.
sort of with Mike
Oh.
that if we don't have to give it to the board, that I'd rather not. But if it's directed to the board, we can't, say don't show it to them. I mean, I want the board to go on record saying it's not just that we have questions about the developer's financials. I want them on record saying we don't want Junction Village. And I think, if they bring up the letter, I would hope Michael or somebody who's speaking would say, he wanted out after that meeting, but if we put the money on the table, which the trust has offered, we hope he would reconsider. And then, they've at least got to say, we don't want Junction Village, period. So you know, the rumor is out in town that the developer wants out, so that's no surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard him say that on September 19th at the select board meeting, that without the funding, he's out, and he didn't get a vote of support for the funding. Liz, you had your hand up.
Yep, I just wanted to let you know the affordable housing update. I'm going to talk about the subsidized housing inventory and the pipeline around that. Just to reiterate, like how that all works, how the housing production plan might feed into that. I might just cover just the general status of the housing production plan, but really nothing more specific. We've had, a couple of forums. There's going to be another one coming up, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's really I see it got a good chunk of time on the agenda. So maybe there are time for questions and discussions. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but I will be prepared to address. I would assume that people are interested in the SHI and falling below 10%, and what does that look like for the town? So I think that that's pretty straightforward to talk about. There's nothing in the pipeline that people don't already know. There's long-term stuff out there that certainly, the trust could get involved with, and the school and the StarMet land, and those are all out there in the 5, 10, 15, 20, who knows how long time frame. So that's what I was going to talk about.
Thanks, Liz. And I think what that could invite, maybe, I'm not expecting that the heart-to-heart discussion that the housing entities need to have with the select board will take place this Monday night, but I think it needs to take place somewhere. And maybe that's what we can try to hope for. Rich?
I just wanted to be sure that, well, the 40B issue, that we're almost certainly subject to it for several years without Junction Village. I think that's in Michael's presentation, but it won't hurt to hear Liz reiterate that.
Sure.
I hope they understand that, but I wouldn't bet, given what I've heard about the September 9th meeting, that they even thought about that.
So certainly can
They
go
thought
through
of it.
that,
They
and then the pipeline really talks about like how many units over what year period of time. Immediately following this agenda item is the LIP application for 2 projects, which will bring 2 more units to the SHI in this fiscal year, probably next fiscal year, more likely. So, that's inches of progress, right? Certainly not huge, but something.
Mike?
They did mention the 40B issue and dismissed it. Henry said he wasn't afraid of a 40B slum.
Right. So I think, there's broader looks. There's this particular project and unwinding from this project and what that means. And then there's the broader look, which hopefully the housing production plan can kind of capture, and the review of the housing production plan can highlight and bring words to. Having this project take this turn, coming on the heels of the Thoreau District zoning failure to pass a town meeting after years of working on that, are 2 kind of significant, municipal setbacks for housing.
Agreed.
Liz, will you say that at the meeting?
I would be glad to say that. Yeah.
And
also, Keith and I are also speaking at the DEI thing on October 27th, which is yet another opportunity to sort of talk about housing and recent events.
Right, with plenty of suggestions of what Concord could do if they want to. So I'm wondering though, for this coming Monday night, how much to focus. Now, we promised a presentation. We have a presentation in the can that has been prepared. I don't know how much effort we need to do and actually going through that, such a presentation, apart from maybe making, what are the top three? We can share the document with them. We can share the slides with them for their packet. But maybe just to focus on what are the top three takeaways from this. That it's the importance of I don't know. I would welcome anyone's opinion on what they think are the top takeaways on this.
I think it's on the last slide, and it's three things. It's 40B, it's, putting at risk the fossil fuel free initiative, and it's not providing any new housing for the group that is the largest group of voters in the town.
Lee?
I think there's a fourth element that, again, just speaking for myself, it strikes me as the most innocuous type of affordable housing that any town could ever expect to get.
Yep.
There's no impact on the school system. There's some impact on public safety that I think that can be addressed. But vehicular traffic is minimal. And any other type of 40B is going to be a dramatically different impact on the town.
In fact, I mean, that's a lot of why it was picked. Family housing was proposed and really shot down. So it was surprising to hear from the select board that, this isn't the kind of housing that the town wants or needs, because that's, in fact, was not what was originally proposed. And I think with all the services at the assisted living, it also might be more jobs for this kind of housing than other jobs for, Concord Muse kind of, property management. So I think Walter articulated some of those things in his letter, not the bit about the pilot program, but, where, who's, loss of jobs and the loss of opportunities for local residents, as well as recognizing the work that has gone in, and then the loss of the open space park recreation.
Any other thoughts from the members on biggest what the points we want to be sure to cover?
Well, let me ask a question, Keith. I understand I'm making a presentation, but I want to understand, am I making the presentation of the slides, or am I just referencing those in their packet and try to summarize?
I would definitely say referencing what's in their packet and then summarizing it, that I think the attention span will be limited, and that we will have a very short opportunity to make the point. Whatever, however Mike says that or just summarizes those top points, I think that would basically be our presentation. It'll be an oral presentation.
And last time we were together, we talked about other parties coming to the meeting to reference particular points. Are we still planning to do that?
Well, I think we've got somebody from Mothers Out Front. You'll have most of the board of the Housing Foundation there. I don't know about the elderly, but we've reached out, but I can't say for sure we have somebody there. And wasn't Alice willing to speak?
Yes.
I mean, I would hope they
Alice
would.
will speak to the climate, and
Good.
I'm meeting with Elise Woodward tomorrow, and I think she will come, not so much, although she supports the project, but not so much to support the project, but just to remind the select board that this was an important component of the long range plan, which was approved by town meeting.
I have to go now. Bye. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thanks. Okay. Lee, I know you're on a short time. Anything you want to be sure to say before you have to sign off?
I think I've covered my points, but if anything comes up between now and Monday night, you know how to reach me.
And your board has a meeting tomorrow morning at 8.
Right. I did want to just say, I know you've got Assabet River Bluff on your agenda, and we've been focusing on Christopher Heights over the past, call it month. So it may be more productive after tomorrow's CHDC meeting if you address
Sure.
what we discussed tomorrow.
Very good.
Your choice.
And I'll very likely be up at 8. Well, I know I'll be up at 5, but hopefully I'll remember to turn on the Zoom at 8. So
Okay. Look forward to seeing you.
thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lee.
Very good. Pamela, I saw your hand raised. Thanks for waiting.
My pleasure. Pamela Dritt, 13 Concord Green, Unit 4. I just wanted to ask if the presentation, if you're not going to show the slides, will they be available to people who are coming to the meeting from the community? Or will it just be the select board in their packet? Because that's frustrating for us.
Yeah, it'll be, well, I'm going to submit them to the select board for their packet, but I always look at their packet. It's online before the meeting. They post it typically by Friday afternoon for Monday meeting.
Are they on the trust's website, Keith? We probably ought to put them up there too.
I can ask. I don't have control over how quickly things get posted there, but
And I also wanted, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I also wanted to point out that from my observer's viewpoint, the select board is not a unified body on this issue. And to say that the select board decided is not true. They did not take a vote. And my guess as to how the members would vote, it was 2-2. And there's some significant factual issues here onto whether or not it would threaten the 50B the all electric initiative, Concord being a part. That is the most important thing to me in the entire town government right now, because it affects not just Concord, but the entire nation and thence the world, because of the massive misinformation about the cost of all electric building, heat and cooling, and the idea that you can get away without air conditioning in new construction in this era of climate change with extreme weather events, particularly in older people's housing. I got the feeling from looking at it that the developer was actually wanting to withdraw and might have been using the resistance he saw at the select board as an excuse. And I could be wrong, but that's the impression I got.
well, what I heard him say is that without support for additional funding, he would walk away from the project, and he didn't walk out of that meeting with support. And to the contrary, it was what he viewed as a sort of the hostile act when you refer a matter to your attorney for advice on whether you can enforce an agreement with the party that's sitting right at the same table with you. That's a tough thing to sit through. I'm sure it doesn't help the long-term relationship that's needed between parties. But you know, the select board didn't take a vote. 2-2 is no vote, though.
Yes, because Matt has recused himself.
Recused himself. So 2-2 is a failure to proceed. So,
And I could be wrong about that. That was just what I was guessing from listening to the meeting. And if you would like, there's no reason that you all couldn't listen to that meeting too. It's online.
we
We were
Done.
at the meeting.
Yeah, we were at the meeting and
Heard it loud and clear.
listened, and I listened to it. I watched it again and didn't come away any happier. But
For me personally, the failure, both of the, I really wanted Christopher Heights, but I wanted a well-built Christopher Heights to the benefit of the builder himself. To use all-electric heat pump technology would save him money. Not just in the long term, but also in the short term. Designed in, those buildings are cheaper that way.
Right.
Than gas.
Thanks, Pamela, and appreciate your saying that again. I did hear you say that at that meeting on the 19th, and I appreciate you reminding us of that very important point today. Linda and then Rich.
Yeah, thank you. We talked about some additional points that Mike could make in his oral presentation, but I'm wondering if there isn't also a way to capture that in a slide or some other medium that would also go in the packet, so that that's also seen by everyone who accesses that material.
Well, I mean, we can certainly amend the slides if that's what
We can change the order of the slides. So, I mean, let's, why don't we task Rich, our slide master, to give us provide one final edit of the slides, where the first slide is the summary, is a summary. Assume if no one reads any, as is often the case, if people don't read beyond the first paragraph in a story, which they don't or seldom do, that's the place. The first slide would be where we'd want to make the major points, and we'll.
So it's just to be clear, Keith, it's the 3 points that are there, plus the point that this is part of the long range plan and has been approved by town meeting, the planning board, et cetera, right?
But
That's the additional point.
Well, I think there was, I would like to see that additional point there, because I think it points to town meeting support, check. Housing production plan, select board, planning board, DHCD, check. Planning board, check. And now we're just looking to get another check out of the check mark next to the select board.
Okay, well, I'll do that tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
But I was also referring to the points that Lee made, capturing, this was the most innoxious
Yeah,
type of.
no impact.
Least objectionable, but I'll say it differently.
Yeah, it's at least.
Most compatible with Concord's goals of
Yeah,
any form of affordable housing.
And
Yeah.
impact on other town services, yeah.
Yeah, great.
I have one question. Is there any way Matt can unrecuse himself? I mean, we're not talking about whether this is in his neighborhood or not. We're talking about whether they'll support a project that's already been approved by all these bodies.
No way, no, the only way would be for him to sell his property. No, you can't do it. Yeah, it just doesn't, no. There's no way for a financial interest like that to go away, except to no longer have the interest. So,
Okay,
yeah.
but I thought I'd ask. It would
No,
make a
good question.
difference.
That's why it will be important for us to shift to a general discussion of affordable housing and see how we fare there. So,
Okay.
thanks. Others who wanted to, and anything else we need to discuss about about Christopher Heights Junction Village?
Became street art.
Hello.
One question. People have said that question, you can see is there a way to view the October or the September 19th meeting? I went online and couldn't find it, not Minuteman Media, but people are saying it's, Keith, you mentioned it was available.
Oh,
How did
it's-
you see it?
Yeah, it's there.
On Minuteman Media?
The September 17th meeting of the select board is up.
Okay, I'll keep looking then. Okay, okay, thank you.
Yep. I think that's how how Walter's letter was able to have verbatim quotes. So. Okay, anything else about Christopher Heights? All right, let's go on to, let's defer a discussion on the next item, which is, which was to have been Assabet River Bluff. We'll discuss that at a future meeting, as Lee has indicated. Do we want to take up home rule petitions tonight? We even in a brief discussion, I think we kind of highlighted at our last meeting what were the topics that we wanted to accomplish in making amendments or offering amendments. First, that to clarify that all funds be deposited in the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. To define affordable housing income limits as being at or below 150% of AMI, since that's what the 150% is what's in Concord's zoning bylaw, and to provide for acceptance of either of the special acts. This is for a real estate transfer fee or a building permit surcharge. By vote at an annual or special town meeting, and period. And what that would recognize is that many years ago, when the petitions were first drafted, it also required ballot questions. And that we noted that the statewide real estate transfer bill would not require, if it passes, would not require a ballot question. In order for it to take effect, it would only require one vote by the local legislative body, a town meeting, and it did not require that it be an annual town meeting. So it could be an annual or special. And Linda, go ahead.
So I agree with those points that you've highlighted. I would just add that at least in the transfer surcharge act on line 13, as it appears in the Senate bill, it mentions exceptions to who would pay the surcharge. And I just suggesting that we add the trust after CHCD to that long list of the groups that would have exemption. And that's a little different than what I think you were talking about in terms of including the trust.
Yeah, what I did, I don't know if you saw these attachments that I sent out, I think yesterday. I worked on them all day yesterday. I might have sent it out.
So did you make a change to line 13?
Well, then the lines aren't numbered on mine, but what so I can't quite tell, but if you're looking at the, if you look at section 2, I'm looking at section 2 of the real estate transfer fee, and which talks about exemptions. And what I proposed is that transfers to the, where it says transfers to the, in numeral 1, transfers to the federal government, Commonwealth, the town, or any of its instrumentalities, including the Concord Housing Authority. That's where I added, and the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, because item 2 is transferred to the Concord Housing Development Corporation, since they are not a town entity, they're a separate one. So I had the same thought, but it looked like the place for us to be is right after the Concord Housing Authority as yet another town entity that would be exempt.
Okay,
And,
I'll take a look at that again,
Oh. okay.
but I think we're trying to capture the concept
Yeah,
anyway.
and what I would hope to do is if we do go forward with this, that I'd want the select board and, you know, and town council to review and be happy with the way it reads. I pulled out some language of if we're going to reference 150% of AMI, how do you do that? And I found some language in the statute that the building permit surcharge referenced, chapter 60, section 1 of the general laws. But there it defines it as 120%. So I just pulled that language out and made the number 150 instead of 120. But I definitely want town council to advise the select board on the final form that these ought to be.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, Keith, and I apologize. I just sort of got back on the computer here. And I haven't read it. Did you up the threshold to 1 million? Because people are going to laugh at us when we've set it 30% below the median price. And 1 million is pretty standard with most of the other towns that have done it. Nantucket is 2 million, but that's where the millionaires mow the lawns for the billionaires. So it's different.
Yeah, I was looking at those lawns being mowed earlier today, just made it back in time from Nantucket. So that's an excellent question though. Do we want to have the substantive change of the
I had it on my list.
yeah, so
I think we almost have to, you know, that's actually below the, I think below the region-wide median, let alone Concord. And, you know, as I say, the million is a round number. It's within $10,000 or $20,000 of what Carrie says the median assessment is, and it's consistent with other towns.
thanks, Rich and Linda for that point. So and that sounds very wise for us to do that. So if we were going to make suggestions to the select board, it would include let's see, so we want to also include the $600,000 let's see, that the real estate transfer fee
For purchase price exceeding.
be amended, that the purchase price be amended from $600,000 to $1 million.
And Keith, just be sure the language is clear that the tax only goes on the amount of the sale over the threshold. You know, it isn't that you cross the $1 million barrier and the whole thing.
Right, here it says there, section 1, it says there is hereby imposed a real estate transfer fee equal to 1% of the portion of the purchase price exceeding, and that would say $1 million.
Fine, that's good. Because at one point, the statewide bill was a little awkward on that, although I think they fixed it.
Right, yeah, that's an important edit to make. Other things that we want to include, or think we're ready for a vote? I just want to mention that one of the reasons why this is time sensitive is that the select board, I believe, will be voting on October 24th, Carrie, to insert articles on the warrant, or is that their schedule? No,
So let's see. The warrant opens on Monday and closes on the 28th. And then on the 31st, they'll order the warrant. So yeah.
Okay, so they're going to vote when would they start inserting articles?
Well, so they can accept articles anytime after Monday.
Yeah.
Before Friday, October 28th.
Okay. And they have a meeting on the 24th.
No,
Okay, so when would they vote to insert articles? When would they vote to insert articles?
you mean when would they submit? You're looking for them to submit an article?
Yes, when would they vote? They were the ones that, the select board were the ones that submitted the home rule petitions before. So when would they vote?
But there's no reason you couldn't, the trust couldn't submit them at this point.
Right, I think they were not anticipating anything other than the middle school. So they did not, they do not have a time scheduled to vote to submit an article.
Do we have standing to submit an article on the warrant?
Yeah,
Sure.
Well, shouldn't we essentially
You
vote?
could submit, you could submit an article. The select board has the option as to whether or not they will accept it. If they don't accept it, then the second way to get an article on is you go get signatures and bring it back to them. But if we submit an article, all I need to do is accept it to put it on the warrant.
Right, yeah, and I guess what I'm getting at is if they're not going to meet again before the warrant closes, then there's no way for us to know.
Well, I think what we ought to do is vote tonight to submit the articles with your amendments and the two changes that Linda and I have discussed. And, get on record with that. And then when you make the changes, send it to the select board and say, we want these on the special town meeting warrant. And that seems to me they got to either say yes, or they got to say, go stand out in front of Crosby's.
Well, also they're going to have a time because there's going to be a middle school article. They have to vote to put it on the warrant. So they have to schedule some time. And every time you open these doors for a special town meeting, something often comes across the transom. So if they don't have a time scheduled to do that, I would humbly suggest that they think about putting it on their calendar.
But I think the sooner we get it to them, the better.
Right.
Yeah, we could get this to them tomorrow.
And
Well,
and the rationale in the email is that a new session for the
A new legislative
legislative
session and which starts in January, and that rather than wait until refiling the bills in May, we
I wouldn't even say rather than wait.
Yeah.
I would say that the new session starts and that there's been recent uptick in the activity at the state level on this topic.
Yep.
So we need.
yeah,
you
we'd
know,
like to get them filed as soon as possible. And since there's a town meeting, it takes a town meeting vote, and then there's a town meeting in January and the legislature reconvenes in January. Can we
It
do it?
wouldn't surprise me if you got a sort of compromise like the fossil fuel compromise where the legislature instead of passing the statewide bill, sort of says to the real estate folks, well, let's let these 10 towns try it. So we clearly want to be in that list if that's what happens. Well, I'll go ahead, Keith, if you want, just say I move that we submit to the select board for approval on the town meeting, special town meeting warrant, the two amended home rule petitions drafted by you with the further changes discussed in this meeting.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mike. Is there, would it be okay to reference that we're asking them to submit it on this January 2023 special town meeting warrant? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, we want we want it then, absolutely.
And
Whoever knows going to make the argument that, we want to get this in the legislative opera at the very beginning.
And we'd identified 3 purposes previously. I can cite those, and I'll add the 4th that we discuss, or the 2 others that we discussed today, the transfers, town transfers involving the trust be exempt, and that we raise the $600,000 to $1 million as the threshold for the transfer fee. Okay, and I'll clean up that motion.
And the other thing that you're reminding me, Keith, as you review this, whether or not we should be calling it the real estate transfer surcharge fee.
I guess I'd defer to our Aloha board member, Rich.
The statewide legislation does not use surcharge. I mean, it is a surcharge with a, threshold amount, but it just
No,
refers to the transfer fee.
No, it's not a surcharge. There is no transfer tax existing as opposed to the building permit surcharge, because there is a building permit charge.
Correct.
You're correct, at the local level, that's correct. Yeah. Okay,
Okay, very good. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Are we ready for a vote? All right, then let's do roll call. Linda,
aye.
Mike,
I,
Rich,
Aye.
Barry,
I,
and Keith, aye, so that passes 5-0. Very good. We'll have more information on the next item, housing production plan. We can discuss at our next meeting. Is there further public comment tonight? Okay, next meeting date.
Keith, before you move on, the next steering committee is when?
It is October 19th. And Liz had told us last week that a draft of the housing production plan will be distributed by October 13th.
So last time, I believe she posted it, but you also sent out the time and access to it. Will you do that again?
Yes, I will. I believe it's at 4 o'clock
yeah,
on
it's 4 o'clock on my schedule.
19th. Yep. And Liz had also told us that there would be another public forum scheduled to get public input on the draft housing production plan document, which will soon be out.
Okay.
Very good. So for our next meeting, do we want to be posted for Monday night or not?
I mean, we can all speak as individuals. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think.
we're not going to take an
Yeah, I don't
action.
see- there's no action that, we've already taken the action that we would have needed. So I don't think we need to be posted for then. So when would we like our next regular meeting to be? Maybe in 2 weeks?
Yeah, after the 17th, I think.
Yeah, and after the housing production plan on the night, update on the 19th.
Yeah.
Well, so is there does this Tuesday at 6 o'clock still work for you, Carrie? If it-
I would say generally speaking, yes.
So if it were 2 weeks from tonight, the 25th of October,
Yeah,
that work? Does that work for folks?
Works for me.
Tuesday, October 25th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Great. Okay, I think we're at the point where we could make a
I'd
motion.
just like to make one other comment.
Yeah,
if I
sure.
may. There are a number of letters that I think are coming in. And it's unfortunate that, well, since people know, most people know that that other letter has been sent by Walter Ohanian. You know, I would not discourage people from still making their position known.
It was a good project in 2016 and and needed, and it hasn't changed much.
And the only reason I'm saying that is not so much is to just give perspective to the board and the town who are cued into this issue. You know, pro or con.
Very good. Thanks, thanks, Linda. Anything else before we move to adjourn? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Rich, second by Mike. Is there, let's have a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Mike,
aye. Goodbye, everyone.
Rich,
And Mike, I'll be there Monday, rooting for you.
Aloha, aloha.
Aye.
and Carrie.
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So we are adjourned and it is 6:56 PM. Thanks all very much. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.